All right, so hello everyone. Welcome to the away lobby. I'm Brandon, and this is my first video, so it's going to be a little bit raw. And uh, well, I'll explain where I'm at here in a little bit, but just a background, a little bit about me. I am a gamer. I've been a gamer all my life. I've been playing video games since I can remember, even back on like the Super Nintendo and even like the PlayStation. I remember beating Spyro with my mom as a kid. I'd run back home and she'd get stuck on a boss or on a level, and I'd come and I'll help us get through it. And then even I remember even the finding the final boss on that game. It was pretty cool, but that was a long time ago, and things changed, and I realized that. So on to the main topic is about moving away, moving away from your hometown, from family, friends, and just trying to deal with that, you know? And so I guess a little bit of background. I graduated college in 2022, uh, mid to late 20s, and I got a IT degree. And I would say around summer of 2022, I received a job offer to work for the federal government. And so originally I'm from Nevada and I accepted it. So I took a 4-day trip with my dog. We drove all the way to Washington, D.C. Um, totally new. I never moved away from home before. So I spent my whole life there, um, which is a long time 27, 28 years, I guess. You know, and yeah, I spent like, yeah, so I did that, moved to Washington, D.C., and it was exhilarating. The new experiences, it was amazing. I mean, the car right there, I won't even lie, I was very nervous. The first day I thought about going back home. The second day I thought about going back home. Third day, even I was like, I guess we're already, more than halfway through it, so we'll just continue it. And fourth day I was there. So one of the struggles I've had, and I have a friend group on Discord that I always hop on, and we all play together every single day, like without a beat. Everybody, someone's always on there, or someone's pretty much always in there. And so we're always hanging out. And well, when I moved away, I'm on East Coast and they're still on West Coast. The time zone difference. So at first it was pretty hard. One, being away from home for the first time, and then 3 hour difference, and it was pretty tough to get used to, especially for like someone who's like always been hanging out with my friends for like the past decade or two, or a decade, uh, in Discord. So the time zone difference was like a little bit tough at first, and but I still felt like away. But after a few years of being away, it really dawned on me like, man, like this. I mean, I got used to it, but initially you do feel alone, and after a few years I like really feel alone because I couldn't even hang out with my friends in real life. Like I'd have to take a whole trip all the way back across the states just to hang out, or um even with family, everybody's just so far away. So that made me realize, like, yeah, I want to be closer to people, at least be in the same time zone. So after a couple of years, I decided I wanted to move back to Texas, or move to Texas, not back to. I have family there, and one of my good friends, he moved to Chicago, so we'll be on the same time zone. And ended up moving to Texas, but a new administration came in at the time, 2005 or 2025, my bad, and they were getting rid of remote work, and they were reducing the workforce, or the federal workforce. So I was part of that, and so here I am in Texas, um, still getting paid for a little bit, and I was on the same time zone as my friends, so we all like, I would go to the gym still to do the regular things I was doing, and but I was on the same, like I said, same time zone as my one of my good friends, and we were just playing video games and everything. And sorry about that. It's like a thing on my eyebrow, and it was cool, but I can only stay so long with my sisters, So I ended up moving back home to Nevada for a few months. After in Texas for a few months, I was like applying for a job. I took a 3.5 hour trip to Austin for a city IT job, like a basic one, paying like $20 an hour. Did a little IT test, and I had to go back. Well, if I would have passed, they would have told me I had to go back for the interview, and I was like, okay, that's fine. So I drove 3.5 hours there, then 3.5 hours back. And on my way back, there was a storm that hit, and I had like the worst windshield wipers, so I could barely see. If you're trying to pass up a truck or like especially a semi truck, they're just kicking up so much water, and I couldn't see. It was crazy. So for like half the trip, I couldn't see, and it wasn't until maybe um 30-40 minutes out from my sister's house that I could the storm finally cleared. But I was like, wow, really cleared at the end where I know where I'm going, the roads and everything. I don't have to pass people up. Okay. Anyways, that didn't work out. I thought about going into public service, police officer, firefighter out there, but I was like, that's not me. Before that was me. I was gung ho about that, but I don't want to do that anymore. So I went back home and I started planning a trip. I'll get to that trip. But back home, I was there with my dog, moved in back in with my pops. And, I have some half brothers and sister over there. And, we were all just hanging out for a couple of months. I applied for a position so I was in the upper part of this town, but back down southeast ish of the city. Okay, I'm just gonna say it's Vegas. And I was applying to a part of the city down south for like correction officer and stuff. And I had a friend that was in, and he was trying to get me in, but ended up not happening. I went all the way down to the background check, ended up not passing. Cool. I had a interview for a business analyst job for the city. Had the interview. I thought I did well. Never heard anything back. Okay, I heard that's normal. Job market's really bad. So this is like late last year. So I would say February to about June or July, I was in Texas, and then July all the way until February. So July 2025 all the way until February or March 2026, I was in Vegas. So it, like I said, I tried to apply for jobs, nothing was happening. So I decided to just take the leap, and I said, you know what? I can't find anything here. There's no jobs. IT market's taking a really big hit. There's a lot of layoffs, and then not that it's just every market, every sector is just taking a hit. So I decided, hey, I'm just gonna go overseas. I'm gonna overseas. I'm gonna see what all the glitz glamour is about, But I always approach things from a conservative point. I don't look at things for the highlights. So when I made this trip, I told myself I'm doing this for a purpose to live, not just to visit and have fun and everything. So it was between Philippines and Thailand. So I'm half Filipino. My grandparents migrated from the Philippines and got their citizenship in the U.S. So that, my mom and then me and my sisters. But I kept hearing Thailand's better in all ways, except for the fact that Philippines has English above them, and yeah, pretty much that's it. But Thailand blows it out of the water. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to Thailand, apply for the DTV visa. I got it. I packed my bags, and I was looking at my dog like, goodbye for now. This trip is to find a place for me and him, not just for me. So I left, went to Thailand. It was fun. Don't get me wrong, it was fun. The food was amazing. Everything was a lot more affordable. I was doing Muay Thai. I've already done BJJ in the past. Um, I play American football. I've always been active. That's been one of my things. I hit the gym consistently every week. So, I have to, or I put on a lot of weight fast. So, I try to stay active. So I did that when I went out there, and it was fun. It was cool. Very like, oh yeah, it was crazy. I was pushing my body to the limit, and but like I said, it was a good time, but it just wasn't good enough for a big dog out there. So I had to think about it and really think about my next move, because I don't want to keep bouncing back and forth. But that led me to the point where now I'm thousands of miles away from home, and it's a 30-hour trip just to get back. And I think when I moved away to DC, it helped me a little bit be away from family and friends. So then that trip here, or the trip to Thailand, I was even, it's even worse. So Thailand was like 12-hour difference from Chicago, and then a 14-hour difference from back home where I have some of my other friends. And, it went from hanging out, gaming every day for hours, so like 5 or 6 hours, to, okay, I can see you guys some days, or, I can see you in the mornings on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because, that's when I could see them. And I got into the groove. It was fine, cool, like no worries. Like, I'm more concerned about, my where I'm going to be staying at and how I'm going to build a life out here more than like that. But as I discovered that, Bangkok's not that really that, like I said, big dog friendly, I decided to pivot to here in the Philippines where I am now. Ta-da. And so I'm just traveling around with my setup here. It's very light, but it's a decent setup nonetheless. Um, and as I was sitting here, because now I'm an hour ahead of Bangkok, Thailand. Sorry about that. Let me turn this off. So now I'm an hour ahead of Bangkok, Thailand. So now it's even worse. And I think so. I've been away for about almost going on 4 months now. And in that short period of time, I've noticed, like, even when I joined Discord, like when I joined Discord, one of the times are just completely off, right? So some of my friends, like, I'm just starting my day in the morning, so I'm more hype, have more energy, and they're like towards the end of the day, so they're kind of like just winding down. So like the vibes are feeling different. And then when you're like away for so long, you start to kind of grow apart a little bit, right? You're not, if I'm not, I went from being there every day to being there every few days and like for a couple of hours. And that starts to affect the dynamic of things. Now, you could have some friends that no matter what, cool, ride or die. And um, I'm not saying they're not my friends. Don't get that wrong. Don't get it twisted. They're not my that they are my friends. It's just like the dynamics change, right? So for me not being around all the time to me being there here and there, like, it's not the same dynamic, and I can see it and I can sense it. So like, sometimes when I join, it's like, okay, sometimes people go from talking to not talking, or if I join, they would I don't know, just be a totally different vibe than from before. It's almost like we're getting disconnected, right? Like before we were playing Valorant together, or we're playing survival games together, all this stuff. So now we're not playing anything. And so everybody's on like the Rust thing because of Burnt Peanut. Everybody's playing Rust a lot now. And, I'm not playing with them. So everyone's just talking about Rust, and I'm just like there, like sitting there like, okay, what's going on? Like, oh, that's cool. Like, just totally disconnected. And then of course, as they like hang out and they play more, well, they're becoming closer together, and I'm just kind of start fading into the background a little bit. And I'm noticing, like, man, so I'm sitting here like, okay, well, I have those were the guys that helped me out a lot when I moved to DC, and they kind of helped me out here when I moved away, because I always felt like I had some type of group I can talk to, and maybe not about my personal problems, but it's still like a group that I can like communicate with and whatnot. And I just noticed, like I mentioned before, how people you can start moving away from people. And I was just thinking this might be a point where either I just slowly start to break away and start just doing things on my own, which is good, or instead of trying to fit into the same group that I have been doing this whole time, maybe create a place this time, and create a place not only for myself but for other gamers. So people abroad, maybe even if you are back home, welcome. But or people who are just away from home, right? And it's hard to communicate, it's hard to talk to, it's hard to hang out back with your friends, and you feel like you're becoming distant, alone, and isolated. Well, this is why all this is coming to this point where this is why I called it the away lobby, because we're away. We're no longer around got people, and it might feel like I said, we're isolated and alone. So I wanted to create this YouTube channel for this purpose. So you don't feel like you have to be, do everything yourself. You feel like there's a space you can come to talk, hang out, just chat if you need to chat. I'm going to be playing video games on here. I'll at least try, because as far as my setup goes, it's decent enough to play video games, but I'm not sure if I can record and play video games at the same time. It might drop a lot of frames to where it might not be feasible, but I can try. But honestly, I just wanted to create this space where we can talk. And maybe, like, I've never been big on like keeping up with like the most uh updated like gaming news, whatever. Maybe I might have to, just to give us something to talk about. On top of like just things about life, things about being away. There's a whole bunch of things we could talk about on this channel, but I know you have to niche out things on here. So, but just for this channel, for right now, it's, yeah, gamers away, away from home, the away lobby. I think I'm just rambling on now. I don't know what else to say, so I'm just gonna end it here. But hopefully, you guys understand. Hopefully, maybe this reaches somebody and they feel like they can maybe have a place here where they can talk and, you know, not feel as isolated and alone. So, well, there it is for my first video. And if you made it this far, thank you. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.